Hey everybody, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management. Not in the bucket today. I'm at the home studio and there's no place like home. No place like home on a Saturday night when everybody is out and about, living large and in charge. Greg would rather be combing through years of Woonsocket's tax assessment data. And what I have found is absolutely startling. It's shocking. It's egregious. And to me, it's intentional. And what I believe is that a reasonable jury would conclude that my civil rights have been violated by the city of Woonsocket. That's my opinion. And what I am going to show you now backs up that claim. So what the hell am I talking about? I'm talking about 401 Olo Street is my church conversion. And I made a recent video which you should watch. It's about a half hour long, so get your popcorn, about the assessment that I got on that property of $5 million. And mind you, it was under construction at the time of the assessment. 12 units, just 12, 37% were issued a certificate of occupancy. The other 20 were under construction, unable to be rented, $5 million assessment. Does that make sense? What about other properties in the city that have 20 or more apartments? I need to know about those valuations and proposed assessments. So what I did was submit a public records request, number 25-81, and we'll put that up on the screen. And that request was for a list of all apartment and commercial buildings with 20 or more units in the city. And what I asked for was the 2024 assessments and the 2025 proposed assessments, so I can get some perspective, right? I used this data now, once I received it, to determine a variety of things. Number one, I wanted to see the increases year over year. I also wanted to see the average price per unit in the city, and I wanted to see where 401 Olo Street fell amongst its peers of like-kind properties. 401 Olo Street is the highest priced property per unit in the entire city of Woonsocket. The highest price per unit property in the city. And let me say it again. It was under construction. $153,306.25 per unit. So that's the first piece of information that shocked me. And I said, you know what? What about the next highest property per unit? It's got to be close. 181 Rock Ridge Road. Put this up. I actually love this property. 152 units this property has. It's a Mac Daddy of a property. Absolute showstopper. Rock Ridge is priced at $112,692.11 per unit. That means I have over a $41,000 difference per unit, which equates to mine being 36.04% higher than the next highest price per unit property in Woonsocket. So I said, okay, is this a valid and reasonable sample size? So I said, how many properties are there? There's 24 properties on this list, and we're going to put this up for you. This is public information. And if you add up all of the units for the 24 properties, you get 1,794 units in total on this sheet. So the average price per unit in the city is $83,388.18. The average year-over-year increase, meaning 2024 to 2025, right, from all these properties, omitting mine, was 24.99%. So what that means is that the average tax bill will go up 25% once the proposed assessments are locked in. 25% is the average across the board. Mine went up 486.68% year over year, which is almost 20 times higher than the average of every other property on this list. So if this number remains unchanged, my tax bill will be roughly $132,358.48. And you divide that by 12, it's almost $11,000 per month. My mortgage is about $24,000. And upon completion, right, like I just said, in 2028, what my tax bill would be, it's reasonable to believe that based on the current assessment, my future assessment with full occupancy would have my taxes triple, right? Because 12 of 32 units are habitable. Triple this, almost $400,000, which would make my tax bill about $35,000 per month. My taxes would be more expensive than my mortgage. We're interrupting your normal programming on the video to give you some developments, to give you an update on this situation, as about a week has transpired since I originally made this video. So the update is as follows. I received an email from the city solicitor, Michael J. Lepizera Jr., on June 7th at 12:21, and this was addressed to myself and my attorney, Aaron Weissman. The city council hired Aaron Weissman from Pannone, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara to investigate the former mayor at the time that the land dispute was ongoing. So the email states, Greg and Aaron, this will confirm that the tax assessor notified me that a correction was made to the assessed value of 401 Olo Street. The assessed value was reduced from $4,905,800 to $3,871,100. This correction was solely made after the tax assessor independently reviewed the original assessment issued by Vision Government Solutions. Isn't it interesting that as soon as I released that newsletter, I get this soon thereafter? And this is $1 million reduction. That's a 20% discount like that. Okay? How come I didn't get that during my appeal? I didn't get $1 of an adjustment. And now all of a sudden, with the new tax assessor, by the way, I quickly get a $1 million reduction, 20% off. Based on that, I had a handful of questions, of which I am going to go over with you. Number one, and this was my response to the solicitor, and I tagged Aaron. The original tax assessment and the appealed assessment, which offered no change in value, was under the prior interim tax assessor, John Pagliarini, ESQ. Why was no change or reduction offered then when the same set of circumstances and information pertaining to the property's credentials and value had publicly and privately existed as it does today? And what I'm getting at, and what you'll realize, is that they mentioned, they being the city, that my loan amount was for $3.8 million. So therefore, that is relative to the building's value. And my question here is, you knew about my loan. That was public knowledge. That was in the newspapers. That was on videos. And also, when you file, right, with the city to build a project like this, you let them know how much you're spending. So that was given in public and private forums. Number two, why was there only an adjustment under the new interim tax assessor, S. George Lewis, and how did he become aware of this issue, having been a new employee in the city for, quote, about a month, unquote? What information, motivation, or firsthand experience did he have to offer and probe such reduction? I think I meant to say, did he have to offer to probe such reduction? I have never had a conversation with him pertaining to my property, but I did have a conversation with him on June 4th, and I show this email in which I reached out to Mr. Lewis and I asked him how long he'd been working with the city, and he said, "Good morning, brother. Sorry for the delay. I've been with the city for about a month now." So that's how I knew how soon he had been hired, and that will come into play later. Number three, that it's of note that once I went public on YouTube with the information I have compiled and the interactions I have experienced, I am offered over a $1 million reduction soon thereafter. And here's what's interesting to me. A lot of things interesting here. When I sent my newsletter, and that was on May 30th, 7:43 a.m., with the video pertaining to the tax valuation of my property, I received a call from the city of Woonsocket's main phone number exchange, and that was on May 30th, 2025, at 8:20 a.m. I did not answer, and the caller did not leave a voicemail or identify themselves. In the voicemail, all you can hear is the phone clicking on the plastic. This makes me believe that this reduction that I am now receiving and the YouTube video are affiliated with one another, having received the phone call within 37 minutes of that newsletter being sent. And I wonder what was going to be discussed on that phone call. And I've been trying for months to get this valuation adjusted, and doing it through all the proper channels and being patient and understanding there's thousands of parcels in the city of Woonsocket and there's only 3 people working in the tax assessor's office. I'm trying to be as patient as possible. Yes, it's in my favor, but I don't feel that that is proper. I don't think that this is the way city government and private business should be conducted. I got my tax bills from East Providence today. They went down. So, number 4, it was referenced to Aaron, my attorney, over the phone to him, because this $1 million reduction was verbal before it was written. And Aaron called me to let me know. It was mentioned to him that my loan amount for construction was $3.8 million. And that is now right about where the new proposed assessment sits. The new proposed assessment, $3,871,000. This information pertaining to my costs has been available and existed in mediums publicly and privately. If my costs and loan amount are being referenced and leaned on for justification, why was this reduction to 3,871 not offered in my initial appeal, or better yet, proposed in the initial tax assessment? Why did the former interim tax assessor, boom, put me as the highest priced property per unit in the city, and then boom, not offer me $1 in appeal? And then now we get the new assessor. Hey, oh yeah, it's a correction. $1 million. What happened with the former tax assessor? Was there some type of prior relationship, maybe with the former mayoral administration, that led up to that unfair assessment and lack of appeal? I don't know. Now, this is the big one. I met with the former tax assessor of Woonsocket, and she was also the former tax assessor of Providence, Elise Perry, on Friday, June 6, 2025, and I asked her to roughly calculate what she would have valued the property at if she was the tax assessor in the city today. She evaluated the information on the property and came up with a valuation very close to what I am proposing. And my proposal is $1.96 million. Okay? She has extensive experience in the city and the nuance of the city, because assessing properties in Woonsocket is not easy. Assessing properties in Providence, not easy. New England properties are very, very unique and niche. And we would consider her an expert witness should it get to that point. I hope it does not get to that point. And I just wanted to make a note that she had not seen my public video prior to coming up with her opinion of valuation. If we take the new proposed assessment for shits and giggles being offered of 3871, my property would still be the highest priced property per unit in the city if I accepted the offer, which I will not, at $120,968.75 per unit. I'm still higher than Rockridge by $8K per unit. Lastly, of the 1,762 units on that Excel sheet, omitting my 32, taking those off, listed on this document, the average price per unit collectively is $82,118.39. These properties represent about 1 out of 7 homes for residents in the city. This isn't just 5 units, 10 units. This is almost 2,000 units, and the average price per unit, $82K. Mine's almost double that. Furthermore, my assessment skyrocketed 486.68%. The average assessment amongst the rest of the properties on this Excel sheet was 24.99% on average. I'm attaching the PDF version to House Bill 6386. This bill was introduced by all 3 Woonsocket state representatives. Put their faces up, all 3 of them. Bing, bing, bing. It is my suspicion that my valuation, and perhaps others in the city, are being inflated to help the city meet the budget requirements. This bill is asking to go above the state mandated 4% cap limit. Woonsocket's looking to go to 5.5% to meet their budget. So, I believe that the city is expecting appeals to occur, such as mine, and are increasing valuations to assist in efforts of hitting the necessary budget number now, and will hope that this bill is passed by the legislature simultaneously. So they're shooting high, understanding that there's going to be some compromise, but all the while hoping that the legislature approves that tax increase. And then I said, while I appreciate the offer, it is still much more than I and the former assessor believe is an appropriate valuation considering the totality of information, which I've gone over at length. I reject this new proposed assessment, and we will continue on the path towards a fair market rate valuation of $1.96 million. So that's all I got for you right now, and I will keep you posted with further developments. I wanted to interrupt your regularly scheduled program with this necessary and needful update. So back to it. I want you to see some of these properties. 41 Village Road, 223 units. Damn! That's a lot. Oh, and by the way, what's that one's average price per unit? Oh, $66,911.66.
Would you look at this?
$66,000 per unit for the largest residential property in Woonsocket. The largest by means of units is at $66,000. It's one of the lowest. It's almost $20,000 lower than the average. Mine is $70,000 higher than the average. And I got a little measly 32 unit property on 0.65 acres in the most socioeconomically depressed neighborhood in Woonsocket, characterized by high crime, poverty, low income levels, shooting up of windows, we'll put that up for you, and tenants getting pulled by their hair up the staircase. And you're telling me that that has the most valuable property per unit in the entire city. So this begs the question, why is this happening to me? Why am I, a person from Connecticut, a person that never lived one day in Woonsocket, a person that didn't even go to high school in Rhode Island, why am I dealing with this type of treatment? And the reason is, folks, it is punishment. Punishment to me for my publicly disclosed relationship with the former mayor of Woonsocket, Lisa Baldelli Hunt. I have publicly gone on the record and gone in the newspaper, even front page, Valley Breeze. I went to look at the Longley building, and as soon as that came out, I noticed a shift in the way that I was treated. What I want to bring up is something that I believe is important to paint the picture. I'm going to bring up a few things here, but the first thing I want to bring up is the Rise Prep Mayoral Academy. When Rise Prep prepared to open in 2015, it faced significant opposition, resulting in litigation from both the sending city and town councils, as well as the sending school committees. Litigation continued well into 2021, 6 years. And I'm reading right from the report from RIDE. Rise Prep's status as a mayoral academy has subjected it to political pressures not faced by independent charters. At trial, Judge Sarah Taft Carter found that the city council, quote, appeared to have an axe to grind with the mayor, who is the president of the board, unquote. President of the board of the Mayoral Academy. Judge Taft Carter also found that, quote, the council has attempted to place politics into the courtroom, unquote. And I met her right when I started the church project. I didn't know her from anybody prior to that. That's how I met her. That was my experience with her. But I quickly learned that the city was very divided, and many people did not like her, and we saw it on display during the mayor's impeachment trial. She was impeached. So, what's my point? My point is that since I publicly disclosed my relationship and my gratitude to her and my alliance in the way that she treated me, that's when I started to receive the negativity. And I believe now what I am receiving is a result, a direct result of that relationship. One thing I thought was funny was after the mayor left office, the council soon thereafter raised the salary of the mayor from, I believe it was $90,000 to like $120,000. You know, like a 33% increase instantly. So it showed me that they kept her at the $90,000 for however long because they didn't even want her to make more money. And that's a tough job. Mayor's a full-time tough job. Not easy. And then as soon as she left, boom, oh yeah, it's worth 120. Just a lot of these types of petty behaviors that I saw, not even being around, just kind of peeking in a little bit. I can only imagine what she knows. But then when I got into business, when I got into projects, when I got lurking around the scene that I had to do, I'm starting to see people throwing shade on me because I always come prepared with facts and data to support my arguments. So you're probably saying, what the hell is this example going to be? This example is from the current state representative, John Brien, and we'll put him up. John Brien represents my district in Fairmount. My church development is inside his district. And John is the state representative. He goes to the state house to represent Woonsocket and North Smithfield's interests. That's what he does on the state level. And John unsuccessfully ran against the mayor. And his father unsuccessfully ran against the mayor. John went to the city council meeting on August 5th, 2024, and this was right when the investigative report was released about the mayor and her land deal. John went with a printed out picture, okay, from the Breeze of me and the mayor at the Longley building, which I just told you about, and mentioned Nexus Property Management by name. And he went there to slam the mayor. And we'll put up the highlights of his remarks now. So that's what I want to lead into. So I bought this property 4 years ago at this point. And I've never heard from John, not once, to say, hey, I'm your state rep. Hey, great job what you're doing here. Hey, appreciate you invested in this poor neighborhood. I didn't hear crickets from him. Not a one thing. And that was very, very odd to me because housing is the number one issue at the State House. We need more units. And as a state representative, you want to brag, you want to boast about the accomplishments and the developments that are happening in your district. It makes you look good as a state representative. It helps your reelection. It's publicity. It helps the city. It's all good to form relationships of all types, especially with developers. But I never once heard from John. Not a once. Very odd. So, I saw John bring forward a bill. It was on the House side at the state, and it was essentially saying that Woonsocket is doing enough for a variety of purposes, but specifically low-income housing. Woonsocket's done enough. Other cities and towns should be kicking in their fair share. So I like the premise of the bill. I thought it was a great bill. So, and we'll put all this up. On April 5th, Saturday, I reached out to John and I said, good evening, John. I watched you introduce your bill on Wednesday and I wanted to say you did a very nice job sticking up for the city and also countering committee's objections, specifically from Representative Morales. Thank you. So John responded in less than 24 hours. And he responded on a Sunday too, a weekend, showing me that, boom, he's there. He said, thank you, Greg, with 3 exclamation points. April 6, 4:30 p.m. I took that as an opportunity to reach out and attempt to build a bridge. So I said on April 10th, 10:23, would you like to come by and check out the property? Question mark. It will be a good opportunity for us to meet as well. The church is all vacant and clean, so it's nice timing. He responded instantly. 1 minute, actually. April 10th at 10:24. Yes, we are on a break next week, so it will be a good opportunity for me to do that. Can you circle back with me on Monday? May 8th rolls around. Now we're at 8:22 a.m., and this is about 2.5 weeks after I asked him if we could meet on Monday. So I said, hey, John, I have not heard from you regarding setting up a time to view the church property. I feel a variety of ways about it, but most specifically, I am confused and disappointed. I am not in office, but one of the components I gather from hanging at the State House so often is that representatives and senators are proud to share successes in their district. What confuses me here is that Fairmount is in your district and the poorest district in the city, and I revitalized that property. That property is also in the center of that neighborhood, next to a school, and adds much needed market rate, not subsidized housing, which he said at the State House, we don't need any more subsidized. We need market rate in Woonsocket. I bring that housing to the city, okay? You alluded to this need in your bill presentation last month by essentially saying, Woonsocket has enough subsidized housing. All the more reason to reach out to a guy like me. Housing, as you know, is on the top of the docket statewide, and this project seemed to be of no interest to you, especially having been in the works for about 4 years now. I, ultimately, having not heard from you over that time frame, decided to reach out in good faith after complimenting you on your well done State House presentation to set up a meeting. Then I get ghosted on that meeting by you. And ghosted means you don't hear from the person. So he responds, minute, less than 20, quick, bing, 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 and all of a sudden stops, right? When we're getting close to nailing down a time. So I continue and I say, I understand you may have had political differences with individuals who helped me on this project, but I am my own person and not connected to any of your prior relationships with them. Are those prior relationships and experiences cardinal to the forward progress of your district and, more importantly, to the city? If my project is not worthy of your attention or support, I wonder what is, and I wonder why not. So John responds an hour and a half later. Bing, Greg. Well, appreciate you reaching out, and I can assure you that none of this is applicable to me. I couldn't care less who your past affiliations are with. We are here today, and you have done a great job in the Fairmount District. Between my actual job, being president of the Rotary Club, the State House has me very distracted from much else. Not an excuse, just the facts. My number is, again, 401-559-3999. Please just call me and we can set something up. I apologize to you for making you feel that way, John. So here's where everything comes full circle. And this was on May 8th. And I said, your prior relationship with the former mayor is what I suspected the disconnect was all along. Then, when I saw you emphatically present the newspaper article of her joining me on the tour of John Eno's Longley building at the council meeting, it confirmed that suspicion. It's okay. We do not have to meet. Thank you. And also, this continues. And John says, 6 minutes after my email, Greg, it was simply a matter of schedule. If you would like to meet, I would like to meet. If you are now saying you don't want to meet with me, I'll respect that as well. I have not been on the council in 5 years. I do not recall going before them and bringing up this article. Assuming I did, however, it certainly has nothing to do with you, as I don't even remember you being in that article. I recall speaking about it on my radio show, but not before the council. In any event, I would like to see the property and further this discussion in person. Let me know if you would like to do that, and I will make it work. My supposition, great word, which is assumption without facts. Great word. My supposition is that we have much more in common than not, John. So are you ready for the bomb? Here's the bomb. Put up the bomb. This is what I lit off with. John, earlier on the phone, you told me you cannot recall, and he called me, and I always document phone calls that are pertinent. Earlier on the phone, you told me you cannot recall the time in which you held up the Valley Breeze article pertaining to Lisa joining me on the Longley tour. Here it is below. You also stated you don't speak in front of the council often. With that said, I find it hard to digest that you don't remember this meeting, especially since Channel 12 was also there to film it, and they're right behind him in the photo. August 5th was a big day in the city, as it was when the investigative report was discussed for the first time via the council. Your public comment makes it clear that's why you were there. And then I ended with, I feel that you lied to me earlier today. So I don't need to go any further on that. He responded, not even worth talking about. The bottom line, though, is that it is true what Judge Taft Carter said. There's political axes to grind in Woonsocket all over the place. And I am a victim of the crossfire. I'm getting hit with stray bullets through no fault of my own. I went into the city to help with the housing crisis, to put market rate units on the board. John Brien doesn't want any more subsidized. I'm doing the best I can. And then on top of that, we can talk about the way I was treated with the lead grant situation. I got the runaround on that. Yeah, it's open. Yeah, it's closed. Yeah, it's open. And Senator Jack Reedsoff has helped me. And as soon as they got involved, all of a sudden I got the answers I need. I say all this because it justifies and validates my opinion and my beliefs that I am being vilified, unfairly treated, and my civil rights are being violated, and I'm being punished because of a previous mayor, because I have a relationship with her. She's never worked for me for one day, never received $1 from me. Why would I get treated like this? It's because of the axes that are continually ground in that city. It's a small town politics, and it's very parochial. It's a bubble. And you may not know it if you're not involved up there, but when you're involved, everybody knows everybody. And they either like you or they don't like you. Like when I posted my homeless encampment video. Again, I was there with former mayor. She knows a lot about homelessness. The amount of hate that was thrown. And we're calling attention to a very sensitive issue and bringing light to it, so hopefully changes do happen. And we're going there on our own time as private citizens, and people were still commenting. And we'll put up, you can look at some of the comments on that video, pretty much telling the mayor to piss off. We don't like you. That's the atmosphere and that's the culture of Woonsocket. And that's why my property is worth $153,000 per unit. That's why. My pursuit of the truth continues. But numbers don't lie. Those are very telling. And they tell a not so good story for me. But I will continue my pursuit and I will keep you updated with the results. And I encourage you to watch the video that precedes this, that goes over what the property was at the time of the assessment and why it doesn't make sense that it's valued so high. And just this list alone, just this data here, is enough for a reasonable person, and perhaps a jury, to conclude that mine is way out of whack, it's an outlier, and there's something fishy here. And that's before you peel back the curtain to look at the specifics of the property, the specifics of the land, the cost of construction. And Aaron Weissman will be representing me, and we all know Aaron was the U.S. Attorney for the state of Rhode Island, appointed by Donald J. Trump himself. There's nobody more qualified and bona fide, in my opinion, to represent me than him. So Pinot, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara will be the office representing me on this appeal in pursuit of a civil rights violation. That's how it has to be. So again, I'll keep you posted, and I appreciate you watching and your support. And if you have any questions, any media inquiries, you know how to get in touch with me. So once again, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management, your property and your property's rights managed.